Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to Debate Among Friends. Tonight's episode, we will be discussing the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, the current NBA coaching carousel, and much more starting now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third edition of Debates Among Friends, live on Mixlr under the name Debates Among Friends, and our Facebook page underneath the same name. I am known as the Professor, and mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Why, it's you, Doctor.
Not any of those other piss ants.
We got a set show tonight. Let's get ourselves right into it. Let's talk about what happened last night. We had the very first game for the Eastern Conference Finals. We had the Toronto Raptors against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to immediately say congratulations to the Cleveland Cavaliers for winning the East and making it to the NBA Finals.
Oh, goodness, I can't believe that you have absolutely no faith in the, I keep wanting to say Atlanta Hawks, but the Toronto Raptors.
I think any other team would possibly be better. I think if the Heat made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I would be so much more happier to want to watch this game. I turned off the game at halftime.
Well, I just think that with the Raptors, and I was thinking about this on the car ride home. I just believe that there are certain teams that just aren't built to win championships. They're built to compete, but they're not built to win championships. And I think the Raptors are just one of those teams that just aren't built. Like Kyle Lowry's great, DeRozan great. They have some other good role players in there, but a championship run in the East, it's a lot easier, and it's something that we're definitely going to talk about later because the East is pretty weak, and that's something that we definitely want to discuss. But the Raptors, I think they're going to squeeze one out. You don't think so, but I really think they're going to win at least one game. I think they'll steal one from LeBron. Not from the Cavs, but from LeBron. And
That's actually pretty funny.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the next game.
Part of me wants to agree with you, but my heart and soul is completely disagreeing with you. If the Raptors was to win one game in this series, that within itself is worthy of a parade out there. Because the way that they played last night, they started off strong. Let's not get the facts confused. They started off the game really strong. But then again, the Cavs, haven't played in, 9 days?
This is true. They're well rested.
They haven't played in 9 games. LeBron James and Kyrie Irving both combined for 51 points.
I did see that. And again, there's no one on the Raptors, including Carroll, that can really cover LeBron. And that's what I was saying as far as built to win a championship. Could you imagine if, let's say, Paul George was to join that team? They would have a better chance of winning this series if Paul George was there.
But I understand that, but we're looking at LeBron James only took 4 free throws in the game. He only shot the ball 13 times. He shot an astonishing 84% on the floor last night. 84%.
And I'm curious to see how many times that was taking the ball to the basket because LeBron's not really a jump shooter, so 13 trips to the basket with, let's say, 5 to 7 free throws. Depending on what it was, that's all he needed to do. Especially if Kyrie was on, Kevin Love was on. They have so many weapons. Again, they're well rested. They probably sat a lot of their starters to get them some rest, make sure Kyrie doesn't get hurt. Because that's been his major issue is that he just can't stay healthy. So if they're blowing teams out, it kind of makes good sense to me.
Which is ironic that you mentioned that because so Kyrie Irving actually played 30 minutes last night. LeBron James played 28 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Tristan Thompson played 28. Kevin Love played 27.
Gotcha. So they were able to minimize their basically they're taking the Spurs approach and trying to minimize the fatigue. And again,
it's kind of hard not to take the Spurs approach when you're up by that much.
Exactly.
For pretty much majority of the game.
Think about it. Last season, they lost to the Warriors. LeBron probably went home and said, "Oh God, we got to deal with this David Black guy again." He came in this season. He said, "Okay, I got to figure out a way to get this guy out of here." He won. He got David Blatt out. Got the coach that he wanted. And now it's like, hey, you're gonna do whatever I say because I'm LeBron. And here we are in the Eastern Conference Finals, which, if you remember, he took, him and the Heat went. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals several times back to back. We all know.
They went 4 times straight. The entire LeBron James stint, they went to the NBA Finals.
And I mean, you got to give him credit for that.
And came out 2 out of 4. LeBron James is 2 out of 5 in NBA Finals.
So if history was to repeat itself, he might win this one. But I think if the Thunder, which we'll get to shortly, get past the Warriors, I don't see Kevin Durant losing to LeBron twice.
Not only do I agree with you, I'm going to one-up you and say I don't think Russell Westbrook will allow Kyrie Irving to upstage him on the grandest stage of them all.
Well,
and we're not talking about WrestleMania, friend.
That's all right. I'm talking about WrestleMania. And I'm going to go a step above and say I think Russell Westbrook would dominate Kyrie Irving with his athleticism, with his energy. I just think all around, I think he probably is going to go crazy. And that's just what I think if they were to meet in the finals. But the Thunder do have
But you know what? Let's go into projections for the finals after we covered the Western Conference Game 1.
Man,
the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I'm calling out Skip Bayless.
Skip Bayless.
On First Take, and he said that the OKC Thunder will be swept.
Wow.
Well,
he said that.
Sour grapes for you, friend. They won.
That's like that time you said Luol Deng.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Let's cover this one before we go into that Game 1.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I called out Luol Deng.
You did.
Off the podcast because every single time I watch him play on TV, all I see is him shoot brick shots. We're talking brick shots. We're not talking about swish. We ain't talking about banks. He didn't call the bank.
He had a birthday.
We're talking about bricks.
He had a birthday and he wanted to hit everything swinging.
And it was like it was his birthday. The stars was aligned. Like he was just hitting everything.
It was almost like
everything.
We heard the podcast. Or I heard our conversation because we hadn't even started the podcast yet. But
like we didn't even start the podcast, but I think Luol Deng was a fan of the podcast.
Oh my God, he hired the CIA and basically they heard. He said, "Luol, they're talking about you and how you brick all your shots on your birthday. I need you to go all out."
It really felt like every single shot that he made, he turned towards the camera and pointed straight at me. Like it was just ridiculous.
You, Professor. You.
But unfortunately, despite that amazing game, they're not in the Eastern Conference Finals. So.
They're not. They lost to the Raptors, and I mean they're green.
So enough talking about the losers.
Uh-oh.
Let's talk about the Final Four and the Final Two in the Western Conference.
Well, the Final Two. I mean, you have the Warriors, who, have dominated the regular season. We all know they won all these games, but at the end of the day,
73 games, beating the Bulls.
But at the end of the day, it won't matter if they can't get past. And I mean, I told you if they struggled against Portland, and I said this to you off the podcast. I said if the Thunder were to go back and watch how Portland played the Warriors, and I saw some of it. They trapped Stephen Curry with the bigs. Like they weren't afraid to trap him. And I'll be honest with you, I thought Enes Kanter, I thought some of the other bigs, including Steven Adams, who's really stepped his game up. I thought he should have been he should have definitely been up for most improved player. He probably didn't win because of that stupid mustache that he has, but
tragedy.
Yeah, it's terrible. But they were trapping Steph, and they were really getting around those picks and really forcing him to move. And I thought,
well, and they have a lot of length, and they're very athletic.
Hey, I thought they did a great job because at first, when I was watching the game, because I stopped watching because I was like, oh man, Thunder are choking. I don't want to watch this. I think I'm just gonna go, do something with my wife, maybe watch some TV or something, take a shower, go to sleep because this game is not looking entertaining. And every time I seem to say that, something crazy happens and I miss everything. But as we talked about before, the games come on so late for the Western Conference, so it's always terrible. But I don't know. I just think that the Warriors, their style of play, eventually I think is going to catch up to them, like it does a lot of other teams. And
absolutely.
Once the Thunder figure it out how to stop it, because Klay Thompson was killing them for a small stretch of that game. Um, and I mean, it was really crazy. So to see that they came back and won, despite that controversial call at the end, um,
I mean, is the call that?
yeah,
I mean, let's talk about that call real quick.
I mean the
the
non-call.
the non-travel
Well, here's
that
what
was
I would
not called
say.
before the timeout.
When I was a coach, an assistant coach, football. I coached football back in Jersey. The one thing
Shout out to New Jersey.
shout out to Jersey, not going back. Shout out to Jersey. Um, the one thing that we always used to say is don't rely on the refs to win you the game. You know what I mean? I think that goes for all sports. You can't rely on the referees to win you the game. So if it's the last minute, especially in basketball, when people are like looking for foul calls with like 5 seconds to go, you're not getting that foul. You're not getting that foul call
You're
10
You're
seconds
not.
ago. You might as well not even do that. You might as well run a play and try to score the basket. But don't a travel call, definitely not happening. Even though it wasn't that late in the game, but a travel call, stop it. Stop it. I don't care what happened. Remember what happened with, just think back years and years ago with Chris Webber. I mean, he
Oh
definitely,
boy.
exactly.
Oh no.
Exactly.
Oh no. Wait, are we talking Michigan? Are we
Yes.
talking that timeout right there,
Yeah.
Michigan?
Two times. Timeout, the travel.
Oh man, not to be confused with two guns.
Two guns. Exactly. So,
But you want me to tell you what's really interesting? So I just pulled up the box score from that Golden State game.
Mhm.
Stephen Curry had 10 rebounds.
How many did Russell have? He probably had the same amount. He probably tried to match Russell just to keep up with his intensity.
Actually, Russell Westbrook only had 6 rebounds.
They
But
probably,
he had 12 assists versus Steph Curry's 7. So, I mean,
well, they kind of.
you can take that however you want, really.
Yeah. I think Russell really grew as a player, and I think last year with Durant being out, I think he really had an opportunity to grow as a player and really, really focus on how to be a better point guard rather than just running up the court and hitting that free throw shot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He definitely matured and his assist numbers went up. He's trusting the other players around. I mean, Ernest Cancer and
Right.
Steven Adams just running the floor, running the pick and roll with Russell Westbrook. That's dangerous.
Can we just say that, as you mentioned off the podcast, that the only thing they really, really need to do is upgrade at shooting guard.
Yes.
And no disrespect to Deion Waiters, but I just don't think he's.
And Andre Robinson?
No disrespect to Deion Waiters, but I just don't think these guys they're not good enough to be in starting lineups. Like if they would have kept James, and I guess that's where the conversation of James Harden, if they would have kept James Harden, would they have been a better team? It would have been kind of weird if James Harden would have stayed there. So
yeah, but James Harden, if they really wanted him to have a major impact, he would have been starting.
right, and he was starting. I think honestly,
No, he wasn't. He was coming off the bench, bro.
yeah, toward the end of his contract, but in the beginning he was a starter. But Scotty Brooks, shout out to Scotty Brooks, noticed that he was struggling as a starter and wanted him to come in as a sixth man. It just made more sense, in which he did more damage with the second unit. And a lot of people do that. You look at the six man's history, and one of our favorites, Jamal Crawford. He always comes in with the second unit and dominates.
Absolutely.
So, but that's the Western Conference Finals. The West, I just don't see how either team in the East, whether it's Cleveland or Toronto, how they're going to beat this. I was going to say the Spurs. I feel so bad because I really felt that they were going to go somewhere this year. But the Thunder or the Warriors, they're both stacked. Obviously, if I had to go and give someone, you go in a prediction.
Yes, let's go into predictions right now because I was going to say that's a great segue. So,
It's at least going.
other than the Eastern Conference Finals, because we all know, I know, and you know.
Only thing that's
you
different
know,
about my opinion, I think it's going to go to at least 5 games.
You're being way too kind to the Toronto Raptors defense. Because it's, like I said before, and I told you this off the podcast, it's going to go 4, but 2 of those games will be competitive.
I'm going to go 5. I think the out of the 2 games that are competitive, I think LeBron misses a go-ahead bucket or something like that, and the Raptors steal one.
I think the Raptors will have a chance if either LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, or Kevin Love goes down with injury?
No, I'm gonna give them the. I'm gonna give them one, just one, and then another competitive one.
I don't know, man.
5 games. LeBron in 5.
No one scored over 20 points for the Raptors.
That happens all the time.
The only person closest to 20 points was DeMar DeRozan with 18.
That,
And he shot 9 for 17.
that happens all the time.
He didn't make a 3-point shot. He shot 52% from the floor.
Cavs in 5.
53 if you want to round up.
Cavs in 5, man. I'm sorry. I'm sticking with it. Moving on to the Western Conference right now.
Oh boy. So, other than the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are a shoo-in for the NBA Finals, who do you have and how many games in the West between the Thunder and the Warriors?
I'm gonna go the Warriors in 7, only because of that Dion Waiters factor. And based on what I watched, and they're gonna go back and watch the tape too, but they had Leandro Barbosa scoring buckets out there, and I was just like, what the heck is going on?
Shout out to the Brazilian Blur.
The Warriors is just gonna be too much for the Thunder. Like, they're not the starters, but more of their bench. Iguodala, Barbosa. You got Mo Buckets. So, I just think that bench is going to overwhelm the Thunder, and that's where it's going to really, really come to play. You'll see it. But, I think the Thunder are going to force Game 7. It's going to be 7 games. I will be completely shocked if it's 6. Either way, I will be completely shocked if something crazy like the Thunder sweep the Warriors. But I see it going at least 6-7 games to the defending champs.
Doctor, you know I normally agree with you. I respect you. But I'm going to have to disagree with you.
You disagree with me now.
And say that the Thunder will win in 7 games.
Thunder will win in 7 games. What's your...
Here's why.
Yeah, I need to know why. Cause
they beat the San Antonio Spurs, despite the whole age argument, because let's just stop it.
You said age?
The whole age argument with San Antonio. No. Let's just stop it.
Yeah, Timmy has been dominating all season. I don't want to hear he got old in this series.
Like, all of a sudden he aged like 50 years in the span of, 96 hours.
It just
like,
didn't work. It's time. It's time. It's time for that big three to move on.
Absolutely.
Maybe Tony Parker stays around for another 2 years, but Ginobili, Duncan, they can move on. They got LaMarcus Aldridge. They got Kawhi Leonard. Maybe they start looking to bring in a replacement for Tony Parker now in the draft. They have that new that big center. They still have David West, so they got some good players there. That big guy. I think they got some talent there. They'll be back. The Spurs.
Here's why I say that. So, in that Spurs series, it showed so much about the Thunder's maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone expected the Spurs to win. Heck, I stated that the Spurs would make it to the finals.
Oh, and that's where I said I anticipated the Spurs making it to the finals, beating
for the Thunder to win and win the way that they did.
This is true.
Was highly impressive.
And the thing about it is, you can't even say that they were old because they really rested like crazy because they swept the Grizzlies.
It wasn't the fact that they were old that was the issue. It was the fact that they played against a team that was much more athletic and can run the floor a lot harder than them.
This is true.
Plus, as I seen from that last game with them, they kind of shied away from that old pop system where, they pass the ball around and if there's an open shot, they make that last pass to another open shot. They started to do a lot of ISOs.
They did.
With LA.
They did.
And some ISOs with Kawhi Leonard.
They did.
And it actually began game 1, actually, with those ISO, sets.
Yeah, and I don't, and that's not his style. So they're gonna have.
Well, it's LaMarcus Aldridge's style. That's kind of how he likes to operate. But I'm digressing.
I don't know. Like I said, he's okay. Man, I don't know. That's a weird one. That's a weird one to really think about because I think that you bring in a player and you say, hey, this is how we run our system. And then you bring him in, you say, well, you and Kawhi are going to get some, some ISO opportunities, unless that's just what he does. He did for that particular matchup. Hey, you got Ibaka or you had Adams on LaMarcus Aldridge. Maybe he just felt like he could beat him. So
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah. So
once again, it was a huge coming out party for the Thunder. The crowd was behind them. They was feeling good about themselves, and they were just ready to play. It's just like what Coach always says: you play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. Hello.
Well, that's our predictions for the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Let's see what happens.
Let's go into that draft lottery last night.
Oh goodness! So
I have the list right here. I'm gonna start from 14 and work my way up.
Okay.
So at 14 is the Chicago Bulls. 13 is the Phoenix Suns. Utah is number 12. Orlando 11. Milwaukee 10. Toronto 9. 8 is Sacramento. 7 is Denver from that. Never mind. 6 is New Orleans. 5 is Minnesota. 4 is Phoenix again. Number 3 is Boston. Number 2 is the LA Lakers. And number 1 of the 2016 NBA draft is the Philadelphia 76ers. Or as we like to call them, Tank City.
Tank City. Can I just say that after I saw, because last night I was doing some recording on a voiceover for a project with my wife.
Shout out to Doctor's wife.
Oh yeah. And when I got out, because I didn't have any service in the studio, when I got out, all the notifications came up on my phone. I said, "Oh no, Philly again." It was just like, "Oh my goodness, not Philly again." Like, how did they keep getting the number 1 pick? And I said, if they draft another big man to this team, I'm going to lose it. But somewhere in there,
he did.
Oh my God! But somewhere in there last night, I saw a report that said that Philly was already in contact with Sacramento about trading down to, their pick, which is like the 8th pick. So I would be interested to see what Sacramento was giving up for that pick, because I did see that report last night. But if they sit at number 1, you got to think they're looking at Simmons out of LSU, or maybe they swap with Boston, because Boston could use somebody like Simmons, and maybe LA will come in.
Well, reports are saying that Boston wants either Simmons or Ingram. So,
See, I don't know why. I don't know, because Boston has some good talent.
They do.
They just need a bona fide superstar. And remember that report about the Lakers trading for Paul George? See, I think a team like Boston, if Boston traded for Paul George, that might be something. The only thing is they really have some good talent over there. I think it's really just a matter of putting it all together. I think Brad Stevens is doing a great job, and they just need somebody to come in. I hope they don't do what they wanted to do all this time and go after Dwight or somebody crazy like that, because they don't really need
They don't need to, though.
But see, some people...
They have Kelly Olynyk, who's a very talented big man.
He is, but I mean, not to bring up the Rockets, but remember we had a pretty solid big man in Omer Asik, and we brought in Dwight. People just believe that Dwight, and I've heard that the Dallas Mavericks are going to be looking at him. I'm really hoping. I know. I'm really hoping.
Wait, hold on.
I'm really hoping that.
Oh wait, you're serious?
Yes, that Dallas Mavericks. They believe that he can be a cog in their system, and he can go in there and help them get over the hump, because he'll demand quote unquote double teams, and he'll be able to kick it out to his friend Chandler Parsons and maybe Dirk. But I'm hoping that he wants to go to Atlanta, which will free up Al Horford for the Houston Rockets to go after.
And we did mention that he would be a great fit for the Houston Rockets. There are word, and that's actually a great segue talking about the coaching carousel now.
Yeah, the coaching
And
carousel. We have.
in case the Houston Rockets decide to hire Mike D'Antoni.
Well, I was actually going to ask you, based on all of the coaching vacancies, and I can go over it with you right now. You have the New York Knicks, who currently have the interim coach Kurt Rambis.
Who now have hired Jeff Hornacek as their new head coach.
Well, let's say they didn't. Let's say Indiana didn't hire Nate McMillan. You still have the Orlando Magic, the Houston Rockets, and
Yes.
and the Memphis Grizzlies, as
And
well
the
as
LA Lakers.
the Minnesota Timberwolves,
And the Timberwolves.
who hired Tom
Well, no,
Thibodeau.
the Lakers have Walton.
Walton.
Sorry.
And the Lakers. Let's throw the Lakers in there too.
Okay.
If you were, let's say you were the number one coach, you're the hottest coach on the market.
Mark Jackson.
Let's say you're the hottest.
And I don't feel ashamed for saying that either.
I'm just saying here. Let's say you're the hottest coach on the market. Let's say you're Mark Jackson. The professor is Mark Jackson. What team would?
First of all I gotta say is, hands down, man down.
What team would? And the Sacramento Kings. I'm sorry, I forgot about Dave Yeager joining that team. What team would you have chosen to be your next team if you had to choose out of those great places to go? And now I can go ahead and give my opinion as well. But so it was just going back over it. You had the Indiana Pacers,
Correct.
the Knicks, the Magic,
Mm-hmm.
the Rockets, Grizzlies, Timberwolves, and the Sacramento Kings.
Oh, of course I'm picking the Knicks because I'm a Knicks fan. So.
I mean, but outside of being
Not to mention, if I'm Mark Jackson, I also played for the Knicks. He also played for the Pacers as well too.
Right.
But I mean, he's also New York born and raised.
See, that's the part that I don't know. See, for me, you would think for me it would be easy. Hey, I'm gonna go coach the Rockets, but to me, honestly, I think it was me. I would want to be in a position where I could actually make some changes. I think the Knicks are a good place to go, but I think if it was me, I would probably look more towards a team like the Orlando Magic, or maybe even the Minnesota Timberwolves, only because they're in, slightly smaller markets than the Lakers and the Knicks. And I just think that they have more flexibility. They have a lot of good role players. They might just need a different system in place. And plus, in the East, I mean, the Orlando Magic could easily swap with a team in the East. All they need is that star. Hopefully, they don't go after Dwight as well because they don't need him. But the Orlando Magic, who have a pretty high draft pick in the draft. I mean, they're in the lottery. They could easily.
They have a lot of great talent.
Yeah, they have a lot of great talent.
Oladipo.
Exactly. They have
Aaron Gordon, who just dazzled in his past years.
So really, they probably just need a nice little role player to come in. And
They also have Peyton as well too, running point, and he's a very good point guard. He just doesn't have a jump shot.
Good defender. But I mean, how many point guards? I mean, you have Rondo. He never had a jumper, but as long as he can get to the cup, right?
Oh yeah.
So
I'll probably say that Rondo's probably a better passer than him, at least right now. I mean, he's still harnessing his craft. But
absolutely. I mean, but he's getting older now, and
absolutely.
I think he really just blew his chances. He could have been the man in Boston if he would have just chilled, stayed around for a little bit longer, and just let them build around him, which is kind of weird to say, but let them build around him.
So you would say that you would go to a team like the Orlando Magic?
I probably would because it's a smaller market. They have pretty good talent. I just think that they need maybe a different voice, like Larry Bird said about the Pacers. They just needed a different voice, and I think it gives you an opportunity to build. Like you go to the Knicks or the Lakers, everybody's like, "Hey, we want you guys to win right now. You better be in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2 years, or you're out of here." Where the Rockets, even a team like the Kings, like they have unrealistic
first of all, I'm
expectations.
gonna have to defend my fellow Knicks fans and say
Oh goodness.
we wouldn't necessarily say that
You wouldn't
we're
say it.
demanding that kind of thing within 2 years. Like
We don't believe that.
if we're told up front, hey, give me about 3 years, let's work this out.
Nah, not in New York. There's no
Totally fine. No, actually it was fine because when Phil said that, it was totally fine. Then he made a draft pick that everyone hated.
I'm.
And Stephen A. Smith, your boy.
I don't know if Stephen A. Smith is my boy or not, but
Your boy. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
Check out his Twitter.
Yes.
But he went on a tirade
Well, Professor,
on live TV.
if I had to go ahead and give my synopsis, I would say that Phil Jackson made a terrible choice. He made a terrible choice. But who knew?
I just can't believe it.
I just can't believe it. He made a terrible choice. Who is this Porzingis guy?
Oh, goodness.
I
Phil Jackson lied to us. Phil Jackson is a thief. He robbed us. That's what he did. He robbed us.
honestly, I don't even think that's the biggest mistake of the offseason. I still think that
Aaron Aflalo.
You want to tell the people?
Aaron
You want to tell
Aflalo.
the people about your gripe against Aaron Aflalo?
Case open, case closed.
Oh,
Boom.
God, he shoots,
Aaron Aflalo.
he shoots one too many fadeaway jumpers in a game, and you hate him for life.
In the post. You know what? Let's stop.
But the Knicks, the problem that I have with the Knicks, honestly, the mistake that Phil made, re-signing Carmelo Anthony. That's where I wouldn't have went.
I would say re-signing him for the contract that he got.
He signed him, period. I wouldn't have re-signed him. I would have let him walk. I would have went out. You had a chance.
Well, once again, we're saying this after, what we've seen this season.
No, I'm not saying that. I said it again. I said it before the season. I wouldn't have.
You
re-signed
actually
him.
did. You're right.
I would have let him walk. Let him go to wherever he wanted to go. Because
Cleveland.
that's where he wanted to go. I think he wanted to go to Chicago. I would have let him go to Chicago or Houston or wherever. I think he wanted to go to Houston. That wouldn't have worked, but hey, I would have let him go because.
Would you have been happy if he came to Houston? Let's be. The people want to know, Doctor. The people want to know if Carmelo Anthony went to the Houston Rockets, would you be happy or upset? Knowing the way that he played this season with the injuries and all,
Right.
would you have been happy or upset?
Obviously not.
And also consider the contract as well, too.
Right. I don't think he would have got that contract coming to Houston because the Knicks could pay more than what Houston could have. But obviously knowing, well, here's the thing. Had he come to Houston, he might not have had those injuries because with the Knicks, he's being a little bit overused because they don't have that additional star power. Now, with Dwight and James Harden, it would have been a little different. In particular, because obviously James Harden hogs the ball a lot, but they probably would have done a lot more. Hey, I'm going to take it up the court this time, and I'm going to do an ISO. Okay, next time down, I'm going to do an ISO. Okay, next time, let's pass it to White in the post. We'll move out. If they double, he'll kick it out to us, and then one of us will take the shot. Okay, let's
That's
do
hilarious.
that for the whole game. I'll draw 10 to 15 fouls a game, shoot 900 free throws. He probably wouldn't have shot 900 free throws if that would have been the difference. James Harden.
That would definitely be a difference.
Yeah, he wouldn't have had 800 and some change free throw attempts, which is ridiculous, by the way. But but the Knicks would have been.
Well, who else was scoring for Houston this year?
I don't even know.
Be honest. Who else was scoring for Houston?
It was
this year?
so. Looking back at it, it was so sporadic. Like James Harden would have like 27 points, and then, you'd have sprinkled in. You have Ariza, he might have 12. Dwight might have. Who knows what Dwight would have had? Then you got whatever power forward out of the 9 that we have would have scored. So I don't know, man. But I just think the Knicks with Porzingis, you bring in another free agent who you don't know because you spent all the money on Carmelo. Who knows who they would have brought in if they didn't sign Carmelo back?
Absolutely.
But
so, just to give a quick update, the Thunder and Warriors have started, going towards the end of the first quarter. Right now, I see 16-12 advantage Warriors.
Yeah, but they start hot. Again, we'll see what happens.
That's not really a hot start, though. They're only up by 2.
We don't know how it started, though. We don't know how it started. It could have started out freaking 12-2, because that's usually how they roll.
I don't know. They tend to sometimes they're hot or they're cold. Sometimes it's never the middle.
Well, you know how it is. Again, I think that playing style eventually is going to catch up to them, and the Thunder might capitalize. But I do believe that the Warriors, they're going to win in 7.
I'll agree to disagree. I think it'll be the Thunder.
Yeah, I gotta see. I gotta see.
Anywho, Debates Among Friends is brought to you tonight by Not Your Father's Ginger Ale.
Not your fathers.
Exactly, Not Your Father's Ginger Ale. Pick it up at your local grocery store. It is actually very delicious. Me and the doctor drink it all the time.
Oh yes.
It is from Small Town Brewery in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Once again, it is Not Your Father's Ginger Ale.
Love that stuff. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, goodness. So let's go back to the. Being that we have extra time, let's go back to the draft lottery team with the number one pick, the Philadelphia 76ers. Now,
Tank City, hashtag.
so the last 3 years or so, 4 years, they've drafted so many big men. Why do you believe they keep on doing this to us?
I just thought they just wanted to get a surplus of big men. I mean, I heard it was all the rage in Philadelphia.
I mean, it's really, really unbelievable. Like, really, really unbelievable.
It's not even unbelievable. It's inconceivable.
And even last year,
I mean, they even had great players to complement those big men, and they gave them all away.
yeah. And I just think that they're going to have to get rid of one of the. They're going to have to get rid of one of the bigs. If they go out,
Two.
if they go out there and they draft Ingram from Duke,
Shout out to the Dukies.
the Dukies,
King
I will be so like I wouldn't even know
Done
what
with the Philadelphia 76ers.
yeah, like I wouldn't even know what to do. Like really,
I don't know what they want to do. They said it's a new era.
right?
So we have yet to see it. So maybe we should give them the benefit of the doubt for now until at least a week after draft. How about that?
See, I think they made a mistake by getting rid of Michael Carter Williams.
I agree.
I thought that was a terrible, terrible idea. I don't know what they were thinking. It didn't make sense to me, but they did it. And I'm just looking over some of the other draft picks that they've had, and obviously they took again Jaleel Okafor last year,
Mm-hmm. Joel Embiid.
Embiid the year before that. They have other bigs there, and it just looking at it, it just doesn't even make sense. Why on earth they would draft these people?
But do they
Knowing-
ever make sense?
It's going to be kind of ridiculous. And I mean, based on some of the names that I'm seeing here, they've had some really, really good players. I even see here that they actually drafted Elfrid Payton, number 10 overall in 2014.
So I'm guessing there was a trade involved then.
That's what it looks like here. So, and when you think about it, it doesn't make any sense because the year prior, they drafted Michael Carter Williams the year prior in 2013.
Absolutely.
Then the next year they drafted Elfrid Payton, in which we have to even imagine that they traded that to Orlando. But I mean, there were so many other needs that they could have filled, and they just chose to just throw it away. Just throw it away.
And they let him off the hook.
At the hook. The 76ers are who we thought they were.
No, they really aren't at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Actually.
No. There's no joke there. That's just sad.
But I mean, what if you were?
And you know, for the people out there, you know, we love the people. We enjoy speaking with the people, answering your questions. But if you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan, I feel sorry for you. I really hope that they really do something. Me and the doctor both condone them actually making an impact in the East because, and we're going to talk about this in a second actually, but the East needs some help.
They really do. They really do. But even thinking about the Sixers now that I look back, I didn't even go over and cover Nerlens Noel.
Nerlens Noel, who was completely plagued with injuries too.
Yes, but I mean, it's just unbelievable that they would draft Nerlens Noel. They drafted Jaleel Okafor. They drafted Joel Embiid within 5 years.
Within 5 years.
that's the part that just doesn't make sense. So Jaleel Okafor last year, I think he was just, I don't know if you saw the picture that he took. He was just so upset that he was drafted.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of shown too. I mean, all the altercations he was getting outside of the court, and I mean, it was just a really, really dirty season for the 76ers.
It's so unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. But enough about things that's going to make us depressed for the rest of the night.
Yes.
Let's talk about something else that's going to make us depressed for the rest of the night. The Eastern Conference.
The Eastern.
How bad are they?
I think.
Short answer, very bad.
Very bad. I think when we were younger, I think they had an opportunity to really shine because Jordan was there. You had a great Knicks team. You had a great Pacers team. I mean, as we got older, teams like Detroit came back and was good again. You had Cleveland with LeBron coming up strong. I mean, there was so many teams.
Even just talking about the 90s, I mean, we also had the, Charlotte Hornets making some noise.
And the Miami Heat.
Late 80s, a little bit of the 90s, you had the Atlanta Hawks making some noise.
Yeah, and the Miami Heat were pretty good. You had Zoe, you had Tim Hardaway. Eddie Jones. So, I mean, I don't know what happened to the East. I mean, you look now, you got the Cavs, you got the Heat. Despite you don't want to give them credit, you have the Raptors there.
Well, once again, I'm not downplaying the Raptors. I'm just stating that they don't have the firepower
to win one game.
I don't think so.
I'm talking about one game.
Quite literally, it has to be a black moon out that night. Like, it's that bad.
That's too funny. I don't know, man. I mean, they won 56 games, so they must be good.
And they did. And I'm not knocking them for it. I'm not. But the way that they played and the way that their first round and second round wins, they're not playing like someone who should be in the NBA Finals. I'm sorry.
I mean, maybe it's just the way the East is, because I'm just looking at the top 8 teams. You have the Cavs, the Raptors, the Heat, the Hawks, Celtics, Hornets, Pacers, Pistons. So right after that, you got from 9 to 12, the Bulls, Wizards, Magic, and Bucks. 3 of the 4 teams were in the playoffs last year.
Correct.
So when you're looking at it, the East, although the bottom tier teams, the 76ers, the Nets, which what a turn for the worse the Nets have taken. I mean, they were always in that 7th, 8th seed. Now you're talking about 21 games, and it's like since they moved to Brooklyn, they've just been really, really disappointing.
I mean, and we know a diehard Nets fan.
Yes.
And
since they
we're going to call him Mr. Knapp for privacy.
Yes, but since they moved to Brooklyn, they have just been...
They only had one good season in Brooklyn.
But...
And ironically, it was Jason Kidd's first season.
Exactly. And I mean, the Knicks always win about 30-something games. So I mean, they've been getting better. The Bucks last year were much better. And that's the weird thing about it is that they added Greg Monroe and they missed the playoffs. Like that is so disappointing. So I could see somebody like them going after Dwight as well, which is ridiculous. But everybody's going after Dwight, obviously.
I don't know why. He better not come to New York. Phil, if you're listening to me right now, don't bring him. Don't bring him. Don't bring LeBron James.
I got 2 words.
I went there.
I got 2 words for you.
And it ain't what DX says.
No. Triangle offense. I throw it out.
I want to say something, but it's not appropriate for the podcast, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
I was just going to put it out there. But hey, they hired a new coach. We don't know if he's going to run the triangle. He might do his own thing. Hornacek might just, bring that old Utah picking pop.
And you know what? I just read an article not too long ago before the podcast started talking about how Phil is hiring outside of his system. So perhaps they are going to try to do something, outside of the triangle.
He should. I mean, he really should. Because, again, the triangle only works if you have the pieces in place. And I'm not sure if they have the pieces because we just don't know. But we don't want to stick on the Knicks, though. I mean, I was just using the Knicks as a good add-in because they're always in that middle of the pack at that
Yes.
bottom 7 or 8. And I think depending on how their offseason is, they can move up and compete for that 6 to 8 slot because I don't know what's going to happen to the Bulls. We don't know what's going to happen to the Wizards. The Magic are up in the air.
They're on the up and up.
Yeah.
They're rising.
But
they've gained more wins than the last 3 seasons. Shout out to B-Ball Breakdown, by the way.
Indeed. I mean, just think about it. Cleveland, Toronto, Miami, Atlanta.
You know the funniest part about all this? We're talking about how bad the East is. The East number 8 seed has 3 more wins than the number 8 seed for the West. The Houston Rockets has 41 wins to 41 losses. The Detroit Pistons has 44 wins to 38 losses.
But does that add to or hurt your point? You know what I mean? Because
it's actually making my point.
Yeah, that's
so
what I'm saying.
despite the fact that
it's not about the record,
despite the fact that the number 8 seed for the East did better than 3 of the seeds in the West, the lower 3 seeds of the West, and got swept.
Right.
That's making my argument.
I think if you put the Mavericks, Grizzlies, Rockets, even the Jazz in the Eastern Conference, they win.
The Jazz was very disappointed. They should have made the playoffs. I'm sorry, Doctor. I understand that you're a Rockets fan, but
there's no question about it. Rockets should have out. They blew it.
I didn't want to be too controversial and shut down your Space Mountain friend.
Shut down my old Space Mountain. No, the Rockets definitely should have been out. I was happy that we were in. Obviously, not happy that we had to go against the Warriors. I would have rather went against the Spurs. At least had a chance to run around them a little bit. But nah, no.
I don't know because the Grizzlies kind of got smacked up
the
too.
Grizzlies were hurt though. I mean,
they were
not having Mike Conley, not having Gasol. I mean,
like let's give a round of applause for the head coach there, just to make them still fight despite it all.
Well, I mean, and now he's still.
I mean, granted, he got fired, but
he didn't get fired. I mean, basically, what happened was he said, "Hey, I want to interview for another job." They were like, "No, you want to interview for another job? Oh, okay, I'll give you an interview for another job," and they fired him. Because I mean,
but you just said that they didn't fire him.
They released him of his duties.
There you go.
Yeah, it kind of was a.
So he still got fired, but it wasn't necessarily called a fire.
Yeah, it was like a mutual, hey, let's part ways. Because I think it was more of a, hey, you're fired. No, I quit kind of situation. So, but I think if you put the Mavericks, Grizzlies, Rockets, or Jazz in the East, I think they would all win 50 games.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you too.
I would even say, hey, let's put the Nuggets over there, and they'll even win 40. Okay, that was low. I shouldn't have went there. Denver,
I got nothing on that one. I was gonna say something.
I don't know what Denver is doing. Like, what the heck is going on in Denver?
I don't know because they have a lot of good weapons.
Yeah, like what?
Mainly from the Knicks.
Yeah, that's true. That old trade. That terrible trade that you hate.
Danilo Gallinari, if you hear me right now, please come back to me.
I mean, even Wilson Chandler, I thought he was good with
And Wilson Chandler.
Yeah.
Like, once again, my argument was, before that Carmelo trade.
Yeah, you guys were in the playoffs.
I say this constantly. I said, we was number 2 in the East by the time we made this trade. And we ended up being number 8 in the East. We dropped in win shares after we acquired Carmelo Anthony that first season.
Very true.
Went down. We had a great squad. Amari Stoudemire was an MVP candidate. Raymond Felton was an all-star. You know what that's called, Doctor? That's called pink and black trunks.
I'm gonna be honest with you. What you just said makes me think that the Knicks are gonna go after Dwight Howard.
Oh no!
But then again, I don't know because there's Porzingis there. But I just think that they're gonna have to go after a big. So if they don't go after Dwight, they'll probably be in the mix for Al Horford. I
think Dwight might go to Brooklyn.
I just don't think
Brooklyn. We go hard. I don't
think Robin Lopez is your answer. I don't believe so.
I think he's exactly what we need
for right now, but I mean, I just don't believe
because we have a lot of young weapons like Galloway and Grant.
Yeah.
We just have to not trade them away like we did Shumpert
I definitely understand because
and Hardaway.
I mean, again, not to go back to the Rockets like I was doing, or
J.R. Smith, I'm sorry, you had to go.
that's funny. But again, I just think that both teams, Rockets and the Knicks, have a bad rap. I mean, Daryl Morey for the Rockets, and now Phil Jackson. See, here's the thing, but Phil wasn't trading people. So I mean,
No.
Phil hasn't done anything crazy yet, but draft Porzingis, which turned out to be good. I mean, Daryl Morey has definitely done some really, really bad things. So, but some really, really good things. I can't say it's all good, it's all bad, but we'll see. I mean, I think this offseason is going to be a good one, just like the NFL offseason has been good. This coming NBA offseason, after a team from the Western Conference wins the finals,
Absolutely.
we'll.
Well, and potentially the Cavaliers might actually win it.
I don't believe
I digress.
it.
And we'll definitely start covering, football,
It,
baseball. We have some baseball experts going to be coming in.
I actually met a hockey guy who might be joining the team. I don't know. He seemed like he was really excited about joining Debate Among Friends.
Well, Debate Among Friends is open. It's an equal opportunity employer.
Absolutely. I mean, I was like,
if you are interested in being controversial, making some cash with the controversy statements, I mean, by all means, let us know. We'll definitely give you a try and see if you're a good fit. But we're getting a little bit low on time, Doctor. You have any other final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Well, I just hope that the Raptors can come out and play a little stronger and don't tear down my Space Mountain by coming out with another goose egg. Give me a hard-fought game and try to make a win so I can prove a good professor wrong.
Well, to use a famous catchphrase that I used last night on Twitch, shout outs to Maximilian Dude, which I pretty much shut down this whole Twitch stream by using the same line when I donated.
That's funny.
There's only one word to describe Toronto, and I'm going to spell it out for you. SAWFT.
Soft.
Soft! I'm sorry, Toronto. I really am. But everyone knows that it's over. It really is. If you shut me up, by all means, I will make this declaration right now, and we're actually about to turn this off in a few seconds. If the Toronto Raptors make it to the NBA Finals this year, I will shave not only my hair, but my eyebrows. You heard it here first. I will shave off my hair and eyebrows if the Raptors somehow beat the Cavaliers this year.
Oh, goodness. I hope they lose, because that is just not a good look.
But we are running out of time, folks. Thank you very much again for tuning in to Debates Among Friends. Once again, I am the professor.
And I am the doctor.
Love.